What is your "we will never speak of this again" moment? I got up one night to get some water and found that my teenage son was in the kitchen getting food. He was behind the kitchen counter, so I could only see him from the waist up. When he came around the counter into the hall, two things happened simultaneously. He noticed me, and his eyes grew wide in horror, and I saw that he was butt naked, except for a pair of socks. He starts trying to panic run backwards on the tile floor. Imagine Scooby-Doo trying to run but getting stuck in place in a flurry of limbs, but ended up slipping and taking a hard seat on the tile. Worst of all, he dropped his hot pocket. I made sure he was okay, then went back to bed and laughed my ass off. Years later, we were driving and reminiscing about funny memories. I said, "Do you remember that night?" And he cut me off with, "Yes." I didn't even have to specify which night. We knew, and we were silent. Eating a hot pocket with your bits exposed sounds a bit too dangerous for me. Maybe he wasn't gonna eat it. A thought pocket, if you will. I considered that as well, as I theoretically prefer my genitals burn free. This line of thinking also sounds a bit too dangerous for me. In my early teens, I used to jerk it on the bed all the time. My bed had a loose board on the headboard that would kind of make this clacking sound to my stroking. As a naive child, I assumed nobody could hear it. Turns out everybody, my older sisters, my mom, dad, and even my aunt who stayed with us a lot, heard me jerking off all the time and knew exactly what was going on. I learned this about 4 years after moving out when we all got together and got drunk one night, and on my way up to the bedroom my drunk ass mom goes, "We don't want to hear that headboard clanking tonight or you're going to be washing those sheets." Everyone laughed. I was like, "What?" and then thought about it all night. Nobody acknowledged it at breakfast. Good God, that was awful. Damn, that sucks. You were totally gonna jerk it before they said that too, right? For old time's sake. At least it is in the family. I remember one post where the kid's computer was in this window that faced the street. Curtains drawn, he would whack it on the regular. One night coming home from college or something, he noticed the silhouette of his father in the chair and realized he had been shadowboxing for the neighborhood. LMAO, shadowboxing. One time, I was taking a poop and feeling very faint. I started getting cold sweats, feeling dizzy and lightheaded. In a panic, I shouted for my wife to come help me. As she entered the room, I proceeded to faint, fall off the toilet, and roll my body to side to prevent injury. Mid-fall, a solid turd torpedoed out of my butt across the floor, leaving a trail of poop smear. When I came to, my wife was standing there in shock. I got up, grabbed some toilet paper, and picked up my shame, and we never spoke of it again. Dude, that was beyond weird. Your wife is a keeper. What, you've never turd torpedoed in front of your so? Torpedoed, turd-pedoed, fixed that for you. Whoa, must have been a solid log to make you pass out. You ever had a shirt that's so good you faint? Now that's how you pitch anal. The mental image of a turd torpedoing out of your ass mid-fall gave me a good 30-second cry laugh, so thank you for sharing. When I was 17, a huge photo radar ticket came in from my truck, something like 40 kilometers over the speed limit. My mom was furious at me. "How dare you drive like a maniac, I raised you better," and all that. But it turns out I wasn't the driver that day. Dad had borrowed it to pick something up. I asked him how much it was worth to him for me to take the fall, knowing she'd turn on him with the fury of an angry mama bear. And that's how I got myself a new HD TV that year. I'm not sure if that counts as blackmail or being a bro. I'm leaning towards bro. It's bromail or black bro, which is also a blackmail. I left out I had to pay the ticket, so it wasn't full extortion, more like a bit of a discount on the TV I was going to buy myself anyway. I have a really similar story to this, haha. My dad took my car to work one day because his car was in the shop getting fixed. About a month later, a red light camera ticket comes in the mail, and my dad opens it and sees it's my car and starts blaming me for it. I look at the picture on the ticket and realize it was on a road near where my dad works, so I'm like, "This isn't even me driving, that's you going to work." And my dad was just like, "Oh, well, shirt." My husband and I work at the same small office. We were the first ones in that morning and other employees usually don't show up for another hour or so. There's only one bathroom on our floor as it's a small business. Anyway, I had just had some habanero spicy thing the day before, and I was in for some punishment on this particular morning. I'm talking doubled over, clutching your stomach, your farts are fire punishment. I hear a knock on the bathroom door and I assume it's my husband. Hang on, I'm having the habanero squirts. I'll be out as soon as I can. I groan out between awful spurting sounds. I hear a female voice awkwardly reply, "Oh, okay, sorry Stacy, for pulling you into my terrible morning." Totally thought this was gonna be a sex story. Nope. See, you didn't pay attention to context, they're married, not dating. Oof. My brother had an imaginary girlfriend with an imaginary Facebook profile. She would post loving, imaginary messages on his wall. I asked about her a few times, then got a little more persistent. After a while, I got suspicious and did an image search for her photos. They were for another person in another country. Also, no one ever saw the imaginary girlfriend. If someone asked me about her after seeing their loving Facebook exchanges, I would kind of imply that we'd met, to spare my brother and myself embarrassment. Eventually, he stopped talking about the imaginary girlfriend and she stopped posting imaginary things. I will never ask what happened to her. I'm pretty sure he will never mention her again. She's still on Facebook. So what you're saying is the imaginary girlfriend is single now? Did your brother play linebacker for Notre Dame and end the Chargers? That shirt is still hilarious. Yeah, no, that could have been some predator, and he found out and now he doesn't want to talk about it. Yeah, never know. When my best friend died, we figured he would have liked a sky burial kind of. So at the height of the funeral party, we released his ashes into heavens with a giant balloon. After a few meters of flight the string has snapped, and his remains covered the mourning crowd. Everyone made their best efforts to get very drunk as soon as possible. We will never speak of this ever. I mean, somebody should. In therapy maybe? Haha, it happened 10 plus years ago, now at least I can write about it. There was a countdown for the main event. Guests got their own normal balloons so they could release all at once together with the carrier balloon. This picture stays with me forever. Bright sunny day, shatload of colorful balloons flying with a big one. Snap, the only sound is his 5-year-old kid, crying heavily while looking up the sky covered in the father's ashes. Later it turned out the kid didn't understand, but only was sad because all the balloons got away. But still, bloody hell. My father and I had a porn Cold War. There has been a tacit agreement never to speak of it, and we haven't. When I was a teenager, my mother found my hedgerow porn stash. Both parents confronted me with it when I got home from school. And of course confiscated it. And of course threw it in the bin. Or so I thought. Months later, I happened upon my collection, hidden at the bottom of my dad's wardrobe. Hidden from my mother clearly. So I took it back and hid it in my bedroom. What's he going to do? Tell my mother I'd taken the porn he'd hidden from her that he was supposed to have thrown out? And he found it again. And took it back. And hid it. And I found it again. And took it back. And hid it. This went on 4 years. And it's never been mentioned. And it never will be. Hold up, hedgerow porn stash, so you're one of the sources of the ubiquitous forest porn? It's like the pre-internet version of being a seeder instead of just a downloader. There was a common porn and tobacco stash in a cemetery near my childhood house. Most of it was stolen from the neighborhood convenience store or kids' parents. Contents always changed. Sometimes folks would dump a whole fresh stash. Other times it'd get raided clean and we'd have to restock. Wonder if it's still there. Twist ending, it turns out that it was the mother who kept it, and has been moving back and forth from bedroom to bedroom. I had internal bleeding and really low blood pressure. I was in the hospital and instructed to not try to stand or walk since I'd faint. I didn't obey that. I went to take a piss and my girlfriend saw and chased after me. She caught up just in time to throw herself between me and the floor to prevent me from cracking my head open, as I fell back unconscious, donk out. peeing all over everything on the way down. I woke with her sandwiched between me and the tile floors, lying in a pool of my piss. And that's actually the moment I realized I should marry that girl. I did. But that's not the story I tell when someone asked, when did you know she was the one? Not gonna lie, that's the perfect story for, I knew she was the one. Yeah, that's a story for the wedding if I've ever heard one.